along with Rogan Smith, who's returned. Candelaria Thompson is in the house, Kendrick Williams, and our guest who's going to be joining us for the entirety of the show is Jerome. I wanted to say Gomez, I don't know why, but I said Jerome Sawyer. Because I guess we were talking about Gomez's. That would be the plural of Gomez. So, so that's the lineup for today, the full house, as we say, poke a hand, that type of thing. How you doing, Rogan Smith? I can't see you. Could you swing around a little bit? You don't mind swinging? Yeah. No, I don't want to see you through poles. You're not a stripper. If I want to see people through true poles, women down true poles, I'll go to the strip club.
What's going on, man?
So you are out of town, I think, right?
So you think?
I won't say where or anything because that's not any of our business.
Yeah.
Unless you want to divulge.
No.
I had
a good little
we could
trip.
track it. Yeah, everything got straight.
What's that? What do you?
All you have to say is yes or no. You don't have to define it.
I had a great vacation.
We had a great vacation. So everyone was straight then.
Until the end when it was coming to a close.
Yeah. Well, I saw that in your column. Yeah.
That's not a column.
It was an article, right?
That's a blog.
A blog. Okay. Well, column, blog. It's the same thing.
It's different.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's writing. So anyway, you almost had what do you call a end of life experience, huh?
You almost didn't see me here.
Yeah, I had one. I know about that.
Child, I was coming back on a direct flight from abroad to Nassau, and let me say, I'm never afraid of flying.
Oh, you can
ever
stop the
afraid.
story right now.
No,
Just a flight thing.
You scared of flying?
It's not that I'm afraid of flying. I'm afraid of dying in a plane.
Isn't that the worst way you could possibly go?
No, seriously.
I'm afraid of dying anywhere.
Dying in the plane that I'm afraid of.
Because it's that inevitable,
turbulence. I don't even. That was like something I've never experienced in my entire life. And before I even got on the plane, I was in this bookstore where I was flipping through and I saw this article by this lady who was saying how she is petrified of flying. And how she starts to really freak out because she thinks that there's nothing beneath. And I said, let me close this book. Yeah. I'm trying to read this. I'm trying to read this. Then I go on the plane and I'm staring out the window and I never get scared. But something is like, hold on now. This don't even feel right. Something about the flight don't even feel right. And so now we're on the tarmac, getting ready to take off.
Well, they take off yet.
We didn't take off yet, but something just felt so weird.
Was this a direct flight or was this?
It was a direct flight.
Okay.
And something just felt so weird. And as we start taking off, the plane starts doing this. Shake. And you're thinking, okay, at some point it's going to level out, and it doesn't. It just it gets worse. And you keep climbing, and it just gets worse.
That's like your boy Flighty.
I never watched that.
Oh. Okay.
These girls were sitting on the right side of the plane, bawling. And then that started to play in my mind because I was like, okay.
No.
It's a wrap. That lasted for an hour and some.
What?
No,
yes.
Sir.
No joke.
Did they say anything?
Nope.
Oh, no, they was going to say something. No, I started pushing a little flight attendant thing. Hi.
Yeah, well, everyone else sit down. You can't make
No, but they
a
probably didn't. So you had no in-flight service?
You all tell me to turn around. Let's go back. You'll figure this out.
Usually, the pilot will come over and say, stay in your seats, folks. We're still climbing or whatever.
No.
It's like nothing.
I would have had to have a shot of something. Calm myself down.
I started looking out. I said, we can't survive this if we drop.
No, that's crazy.
That's a wrap. Start thinking about that. This is how I'm going out, man. This is how I'm gonna die.
Would have been in my toe.
No,
And then the babies them start screaming and things. I was like, oh Jesus, this is it.
Yeah, it's what one would call unnerving.
I think it's beyond unnerving.
By the way, and I'm just going to throw this out for the folks who have not yet gotten home and to the dining table. Was there any smell of poop?
You're so gross. And why would you even think that?
Because people do some funny things, man.
But it was there was no. There's always a smell of poop on a plane.
Well,
really?
I don't know what plane. No wonder your plane. No wonder. Excuse me, hold on. No wonder your plane shaking. Her plane shaking. Hey, Jerome. Her plane shaking because she's flying in the toilet.
No, I want to know what airline that is. Offline. No.
I never smell the poop.
Listen to me.
I don't smell it.
Listen to me, Jerome. I believe that people take an opportunity because it's you can't hear properly. I think they pass when.
Oh, of course.
No, I didn't say. First of all, I didn't say.
I think it was the baby's diaper.
Pump. I said poop.
It does smell like poop,
Okay?
though.
No.
There's a difference. there is difference between poop and boom.
For one.
Big difference.
A big difference for one. Poop.
Baby, that don't leave.
Yeah, for one, poop does not linger.
You know,
Poop is permanent.
Listen,
you know, and number two doesn't take days.
Let me know the flights. Let me know the flights that you're on, so I can avoid that. Because it's obvious you're the one doing it.
Never.
What's the common denominator? No, who's the common denominator?
There are people out there who listen to the show and they say, yeah, that's true on the plane. It always smells like.
It's very rare. It's very rare. It's very rare that I smell wind on a plane, and when I do, it's very noticeable.
That ain't rare. That's every time.
Okay, well again,
the bathroom. Sometimes things happen when it hit 10,000 feet.
Yeah,
that's like sitting in the back of the plane.
Over the wing and thing.
I wonder if there's any possibility of restoring some order. One brings up the word poop or poop, and they seem to go out of hand. They really.
Is he probably doing it on the plane? That's why he is.
No. I'm the first. And by the way, I'm going to say this publicly. I'm proficient at it to the extent that I control the wafting. I control the emissions.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Sitting on it?
I sit. I let out slowly.
Ew.
And I let out in movements. I don't let the whole thing go. So I let out, dissipate, let out, dissipate, let out, dissipate. You see what I'm saying, Jerome?
I got a visual.
You know,
I could be doing it right now and you wouldn't even know.
When I know it's coming fast and I fly flush the toilet. To hide the noise.
No, but I'm not going. No. I'm not going to the bathroom.
Oh no. I fast time in the bathroom.
One does not.
I get nervous. Sometimes I just go sit in the bathroom and pass the time.
The plane seats just steeped and soaked in.
No, one does not use the facilities other than standing up.
And you do that?
Well, unless they wish. No, they don't know. If I thought, you want to explore?
You know the person next to you.
You know. No.
That scent can come down.
No, what I'm saying to you is, I always first of all, let me say this to you. When I say I'm proficient, I'm not saying that I go onto planes like Rogan and look forward to pooping. I didn't say that. But there are times when one. There are times when nature calls, and then what one does out of consideration for their fellow passengers, go to the bathroom. Then you'll have a trail down the aisle. What you have is a controlled scenario with the right angle of the air conditioning vent. And then you move from there.
You're very nasty. You should go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I'm nasty.
You are nasty.
The whole world is nasty then. Okay?
Everybody ain't farting on. I've never farted on a plane.
Excuse me, do you notice I don't use the word fart on the radio?
I don't like the word. That sounds like it comes with an odor.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move off of that subject. So you survived the flight. You survived the flight. And landed in Nassau.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're back safe.
Thank you.
What was it? Did they say at the end? What was it due to?
Nothing. The whole time they said nothing.
No, but I mean at the end.
No one asked.
I was so happy to get on the ground and just get off the plane.
That's rare because they normally come on and say, okay, we're going to experience something.
It must have been severe. Well, they had a lot of storms.
Yeah.
You were probably in a storm.
Coming out of D.C.
When? You were probably in a storm.
Saturday.
Oh yeah, the weekend was rough. Yeah, a lot of.
So you were in a storm.
Yeah.
So you never saw a flight. You never saw a flight.
It was clear skies.
Yeah, but there were storms around.
It was clear and sunny. It was perfect.
But did you see a movie called Flight?
No.
Okay, so in the movie Flight, my man Denzel.
Oh,
he had a few bourbons or vodkas. In fact, he sneaked some off of the off of the little carton. What do you call it? The tray or whatever.
Beverage cart.
So the flight was like yours, and there was like this cloud or something that he had to get through. So he did like a steep ascent. Yeah. He did the steep ascent, right? Let me tell you how bad it was. This is Denzel. This is the co-pilot. When he was doing this steep ascent, this is the co-pilot. Okay, like the co-pilot was freaking out. But what's even more is when he had to land. Because something went wrong. He turned the plane upside down.
Yeah.
And just at the right moment, he flipped it back.
Let me tell you something. If you're scared, don't watch that movie. I watched that once.
He was at a low altitude.
I was traumatized when I watched that.
He did, and it's a true story.
It is a true story.
And he did the only thing that he could do to save the plane.
Quite a few people, not a lot of people died.
No one died.
No one did.
The flight attendant died.
Oh, yes. Yes, she
Oh,
did.
she had a head or
Oh,
something.
we were just
Remember
talking
they had a little
Yeah, it's
situation.
an old movie. We don't care.
Yeah.
They had a little situation the night
That's
before,
true.
and she was the one who gave him the liquor.
Right. Oh.
And
But she gave him he got liquor out the tray
Yeah, the thing, but
Yeah.
she knew.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But she wasn't strapped in. That's why she
Okay.
died.
Right,
She fell.
right,
Yeah, when the
right.
plane
The plane
turned
up,
over.
okay.
You're right.
But he did the only maneuver that
That could save
could
the
have
plane.
the plane.
the whole plane.
But the problem was they found alcohol and cocaine in his
Traces, yeah.
urine.
Yeah.
So that
So
was
he
the
in jail?
problem.
No. He just wasn't flying
I think
no more.
he was. He
It
got
is a
his
true story.
license.
I think he
taken
got his
Taken,
license
yeah.
taken. But he was like a hero for saving the plane until they discovered that
Well,
he
yeah.
crash landed.
Right. He
Yeah,
crash
Yeah,
landed.
but he
The plane
flipped it
crashed
back over. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they couldn't deny that what he
Did.
did saved
Saved
the
all
plane.
of those
So it was
lives.
Yeah. And the
Oh my
co-pilot
God.
even testified on his behalf.
Right, on,
Yeah.
He's
Oh my
like,
God.
there's
But
no
he
way.
eventually fessed up and said, listen, I have this issue.
Because it was him
Yeah.
who fessed up. He
Yeah.
didn't have to say
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That was a good one. You should watch it.
So we're going to
No,
take a
maybe
little
not.
break, and we'll get off of the
Like
aviation section of the
As
show.
people drive to the airport.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogan Smith. We don't have a guest today. We have a special guest, Jerome. He's going to participate with us. And Candy, of course, is with us. But before I do that, I got to say, hey, May is a beautiful month to appreciate what the world has given us. And you can celebrate it with our Kelly's House and Home Mother's Day sale starting Friday, May 3rd through Saturday, May 11th. Enjoy 20% off on selected dinnerware, luggage, or as we say in the Bahamas, luggages, glassware, and more except on net items. Don't forget that Hallmark cards go to go with your special gift. Kelly's has everything you need to show her just how much she means to you. Kelly's House and Home Mother's Day sale starting Friday, May 3rd through Saturday, May 11th. Happy Mother's Day. And, of course, we have to thank our other sponsors, Sunshine, Arawak Homes, John Bull Business Center, Wendy's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Coca-Cola, Burger King, Subway, Superwash, we love you, washes you, and feeds you. That's the new slogan for them. Who else we got in things? Insurance management. No one does it better, you know. And we did say we don't. Well, no, we didn't because they no longer sponsor us, so we didn't.
Okay.
So that's why we didn't say that.
Okay.
Bristol Cellars, Bristol Wines and Spirits. Of course, we have to say them. So thanks to all our sponsors.
Yeah,
we really like them and we love them and they do as well. I'm sure I'm forgetting one, but if I do, when we come back on the other side, we'll make sure we give them the props, as you say, the props. So what else is in the news? A lot of violence.
You see this? I came back and I saw this thing.
A lot of
from,
violence.
Government House.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Gigi's residence. I mean, it's sad that this gentleman,
Yeah.
he passed away.
My mind. They're doing it anywhere.
But I'm just thinking about the fact.
Makes it a bigger.
Where it is makes a difference.
makes it a bigger incident,
Yeah.
I would think.
Absolutely.
I
expect-
and who it is as well.
Well, you see, that doesn't throw because I see a lot of. There's a lot of cases involving defense force officers and police officers. It's not a new thing.
But not. Yeah, we don't see that.
Well, that's interesting. And you wonder what it's. I don't know what the motive is.
They just had an altercation and something happened.
Because someone, because the first inclination that you if you go 90%, but I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, but it's like you say, it's because it's officer on officer, number one. Number two, where it took place.
Residence of the Governor General. That has, to me, that has international implications. Because it's gonna, it looks bad.
It looks bad, but I don't think it's, I don't know. I will see what happens in the days to come. But what kills me, not kills me, I don't mean to say that. What really is concerning to me is the level of, because there were other people present, right? Which means that this wasn't a sneak job. It wasn't like I'm trying to sneak to do this.
No, this was
okay.
deliberate.
This is like I am so mad.
This is what I'm going to
escalation.
That I have to go there now and do this, and I don't care who see me. I don't care what the ramifications are. I've lost my mind because that's what it is. No. When you get to that state. Something's lost. That's not rational thinking.
It's not.
No.
I know, but that.
Well, I don't think it's rational
thinking.
But anger has to be. That level of anger has to be tied to some level of insanity.
No, I'm not.
For you to get that mad to take a life.
Yeah, that's you've lost it. You've lost control.
And then to have that military training,
Yeah.
they're militarily trained. And the question now is, and I see people running on about, they question state of mind. And I mean, it happens. Military people all over the world kill outside of duty.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens. That's not a new thing.
Right.
But then, the question becomes, are we doing a good enough job of screening and psychologically evaluating? And then there is the outlet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, men and women who are working in the armed forces, who are working in law enforcement, even people who are working in emergency services, they don't get that kind of psychological help.
I agree.
That they need. You are dealing with that. I can't imagine having to deal with blaming people every day on the streets. I can't imagine with police. I can't.
No.
And I spend a couple hours driving and I speed like I can catch a case.
Well, I mean, listen, let's face it.
imagine
Our defense force, and this is not to belittle anyone, I don't know how much action-packed fun they get on a regular basis. It's not like we have a war. We're not going to Iraq.
No, but
they
it's
get
different.
poachers.
I can correct you on that. Let me tell you, and having experiences with them, they can be out at sea 2-3 weeks at a time.
Yes.
Right.
You're in confined quarters.
Right.
You are basically on high alert the whole time you're at sea.
Yeah.
And like they say
That
to me,
is
like
true.
mentally that starts to get to you after a while. Then you're away from your family for periods of time. Sometimes if something happens at sea, sometimes you don't even know.
Yeah.
So you may be out on sea for 2 weeks. You come back in, you have a couple days, off base or whatever, and then you're back out.
That's right.
And I was on a ship with them 9-10 o'clock in the morning, 9-10 o'clock at night. I mean, we were sleeping, and we got a call. The whole ship went on alert because they had to do a boarding.
Yeah.
They came across a boat and they wanted to board that boat to check. So you're talking 11 o'clock, and that could happen 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever kind of time. And
But
so
when you look
mentally
at-
that
but-
gets
but
to
you
you.
look at but when you look
That is
at
true.
what's happening just overall in the country, you have to admit that this type of incident where you have a defense force officer, especially defense force officer alleged on defense force officer, that's a rarity. Compared to some of the major stuff where guys around here are just doing this on a regular basis. I mean, so I'm not talking about, obviously they have their specific issues, but I'm just talking about the fact that and from what I heard, there was another speculative thing, that someone dropped him there.
Yeah.
This is what I heard, okay?
Yeah,
okay? When to that level, to that level
my
of
point.
where this is what you need to do to see your way through. That level of I don't know. It's beyond me. And it's targeted, and it's. But obviously, it was building.
But if
it was building.
it's speculative.
Yeah.
My issue is with the person who dropped him.
Well, yes. I mean,
So that person needs to be held accountable at some point.
Yeah,
Is that though?
if that's true, if that's true,
I'm mad,
if that's true.
you gonna know I'm mad. I say, look here, we riding.
Exactly.
I gonna do. Are you gonna
But
know
you're going
that?
to tell me, you're not saying, listen, drop me to the back of the
Or
wall
you
with
could've
this
been
gun
that
so I
calm.
can
No,
just
point where
shoot some
they-
crops.
Just drop me over here, please.
Yeah.
Drop me here and I
That's
can go over
super
the wall.
scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, it's
That's
and at
assuming.
and at whatever ridiculous hour of the night.
Right.
Okay, because this is normal too.
What time did that
like
happen?
2:30.
Like
3
1
o'clock.
no, it's like 1 a.m. or something.
But still,
like that.
that's
late.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
late,
late.
yeah.
So you just have to be, it'll be interesting to see what comes out. See, the thing is, do you ever get closure if the person who's committed the crime, allegedly, doesn't tell you what happened? Now, someone may know. Someone's got to know why. Something went down.
Well, there's speculation.
This wasn't random.
About what transpired.
I do
Yeah.
have a
I don't
question.
wanna-
Though.
Excuse me.
No, not at all.
I have a question, and it came out today in a discussion. Like, what? Okay, because they are Marines and they are the country's military, is what they are. I think sometimes we forget that. How does that work in concert with the police? Because it's my understanding that they have to do their own investigation.
Like
and
a court-martial
The
type.
defense force.
Yeah.
The defense force, you mean?
the defense force has to do
JAG.
their own or their own investigation, and then the other question is, do their findings now supersede the police? I mean, in terms of action taken.
That's a very good question.
I
don't
very
know what that
curious
is,
as
but
to-
yeah.
as to what will happen.
That
It
is
might
true.
even be a matter of jurisdiction, like where it happened. The other thing is, of course, you had someone who was killed in Bimini. Again, speculation is that some people came from Florida and did this. This is speculative at this stage, but it's amazing. You don't know what's going on in people's lives, man.
That was in Exuma where
No,
they
in
had the
Bimini.
fight. No, there's a video going on.
Yeah,
where they had a fight.
Yeah, but I expect that at all them things.
In Regatta.
Oh
yeah.
Let
me just be honest with you. Let me tell you something new. It used to be, and I don't know because I didn't go until late in life, right? Where you would always hear about this regatta, and I always had a kind of a, I suppose, romantic or, certain naive view of what this regatta thing was all about.
Boats.
Yeah, so no one watching the sailing. It's a bunch of drinking and carrying on, carousing, and I just said it's just another Frankfurter location to me. So it was, maybe the people on the boats are enjoying it because it's competition, but it isn't my scene.
Yeah, it's not my scene either. That's one of the reasons I don't go to regatta because I'm always fearful that something is going to pop off.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that person who gets caught up in that.
You don't hear about popping off much, so but it's always disappointing. I went to, I'm not going to say the island. I went to an island, man. I've been hearing about this regatta for years. Boy, you got to go to this regatta, boy. This the best. But I went there, was like, well,
what else?
But if you don't have a boat to go on and then,
I just didn't want to sit around,
you just watching,
get some fritter,
you're at the site.
So they can get fritters in town, But anyway, it's not my thing. I think for a lot of people in some of those regattas, not necessarily the Exuma one, it's a homecoming.
Yeah.
So that may be more some emotional attachment there for those folks.
People like to get away from Nassau and go and have the experience and.
But it's not a soothing experience.
No, can you get away with Nassau to go with other Nasuvians and
they hear DJ Unicorn. No, I
He's so silly. Pull up.
So, but anyway. So what else is going on in town? And we're going to talk about some stuff I thought.
I mean, this weekend.
Where was that?
You want to hear about this at?
I know, but
your favorite place?
Oh, yes.
Video
Don't
making
don't say the name, though.
Yeah, on social media.
Mouth it.
Yeah, I can tell you in the break.
Yeah,
but it's unfortunate because you had people.
Why was the shirt off?
Huh? They tear the shirt like when they're trying to hold him. He tear out the shirt like the Hulk. But basically,
always come off of
and it's indicative of why people don't go out anymore. These fools go to this establishment, get into a brawl. Security has to get in. People have to try and break them up. It's in the foyer. It's just this whole debacle, embarrassing, and the thing is, I didn't even see the video first. I saw a post on Facebook that said something like, "Oh, I see the riff-raff has gotten into that, so I won't be going." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And so I'm not
going to let them stop me.
No, I'm not saying, but I thought.
I don't know what this is.
I was like, here we go. And it's just you just need a small segment of fools to ruin it.
Yeah.
That's why I say charge it up.
I feel bad for the establishment.
Yeah, but they will get off that. There'll be from security. We'll get past that. That's not indicative. But See, this is what I say about. I was talking to someone today about our issues and the way to fix it. And I in fact, it was our good friend Katie, and I was talking to her about. I was using the example of subsidence. Are you familiar with the term subsidence?
I'm sure you can tell.
If you look in your policy, in your homeowner's policy, there's an
policy like insurance.
No, insurance. Yeah, if you look in your insurance policy, your homeowner's policy, there is an exclusion, and that exclusion is for subsidence. Subsidence is shifting of ground. If you fill in wetland or something like that, and no one even may not even know, and you build your house on it, years later it might shift, and insurance doesn't cover that because they don't. That's not an act of God. That's just So I view our society, and because you build either a foundation on a poor surface or you build a poor foundation. And I think that, what we did is we had some poor foundations at the beginning of this experiment called nation building, where, we didn't focus on some things. Education, family planning, social behavior, these type of things. And unlike a home where if you have cracks in the wall, you can, in theory, pull down the house if you can afford it and rebuild. or you can patch it up, but you can't do that with people. The foundation, if it's poor and you end up with a 30-year-old who has a bad attitude, I don't know how you change that. And that's what worries me. I don't know how you change it. And then it's not terrible if you don't have critical mass. You know, if you have a population of 300,000 people and there's maybe 5,000 like that, you can overwhelm that, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's like 5,000 sensible people.
I'm starting to believe
it's
that.
definitely the numbers are
in the wrong direction.
Yeah, the scales are tipping in the wrong direction. I believe that.
You know, because when you know when you and you can tell because you go to a place and immediately if you're a kind of orderly person, you feel a little outnumbered by the disorderly. You know, you go on a line at a let's just say a movie. Okay? You go to the U.S., man, and we've talked about this before, and you go to a movie and you stand on line. If you decide you're going to butt in line, some little short old lady is going to go, "Excuse me?" Yes, we're all in line. Okay? But if someone does it here, it's like we're not even going to say anything.
Very docile.
He dares you to say anything.
Yeah. It's almost an intimidation factor.
Yeah.
They almost intimidate you. But you say that about standing in line, but I see it daily just how aggressive we are on the streets. It's almost daily you are taking your life in your hands because somebody doesn't want to wait on a red light. Somebody decides to overtake.
We have no patience.
And I think it's even worse than patience, To me, it's a respect issue. We don't care. It's like, I have to get where I go in, so them 10 other cars in front of me, screw it.
I had a situation just today. You described it to T. I was driving, letting some people across the street, right? This one lady taking her time crossing the street. And I did a light little toot, right? To say, okay, well, hey, I got people behind me. You're taking too long. Man, what all she didn't tell me. I gonna break this effing glass.
Hey, but listen, no, see, let me tell you.
What?
Let me tell you what the problem was, Candy, and this is why I always reprimand you and Jerome and Rogan Smith, not so much Ken, because y'all never go on the right track. Okay? You said you at the pedestrian crossing.
No, it was not even a pedestrian crossing.
The street.
No, I was doing her a favor.
You had you have plenty. Excuse me.
Yes, I was turning onto
the
street.
You're waiting for her to cross.
Right.
Politely.
Yes.
And then you have all these cars behind you. But you didn't realize.
I'm on the main road.
Yes.
I'm on the main road.
We don't care about the details like that.
Onto a street.
Which you don't realize is she had all her bungie behind her. She had to carry that. She can't just carry that fast.
No, not this one.
This is a short bungie?
Not this one.
Light bung?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, in that case, I don't excuse her. She just miserable.
Yes, she was.
Well, they like to do this.
Stink.
They like to do this.
And I mean, taking her time.
If they have a little bit of shake.
And you're gonna do this.
The whole wine.
Folks, Ed is modeling.
Lean back and left to right.
You look like Karen from Modern Family when you do that.
I mean,
because everything smells to them. You notice that?
And she said that, and it was ridiculous. And I almost, and
I want you to break this glass.
You know me. It took me like, ooh, okay, just keep driving, Candy.
Yeah.
Keep driving.
The four wheelers that they drive now.
The trailer.
The ATVs.
The ATVs. This guy has an ATV. He's coming down West Bay Street yesterday. He's overtaking. He had an ATV now. Mm-hmm. I coming down, and I have to stop because he's in my lane. So I kind of like looking at him like, what? And he literally stands up on the ATV like he won't jump in my car. Yeah. And it
correlates with the fact that
like, dude, it's
wrong. Reported that there are 8,000. This is reported. This I don't know if it's true. 8,000 people who have licenses they shouldn't have.
Yes, I read that.
Whoa.
So they don't have any kind of street etiquette, nothing. They just on the road. We'll be right back. It kills me. Listen, Candy's here this afternoon, and I think that she would like to talk to us about a subject that, to be honest with you, is of great import. And that's when you know it's important, when you say import. And
what happened the Candy theme song. Y'all don't play that no more.
No.
Why?
I don't know. It's not
okay.
my department.
It is your department. Because
No, it's not my department. It's the
every time you
producer's
say cut
department.
that. I
It's
just
the
a
producer's
theme
department.
song.
Yeah, it's the producer's department. I don't even know if he could find that now. You could find that?
I know.
Yeah,
Every
sorry
time
for
she
that.
came on. You don't do it
So,
anymore.
having said that, we'll play it next time. So you want to talk about sleep? This is a very
Well, you kind of
underestimated.
ruined my intro, but no, I was going to say, something like, what is also killing us other than all this other
Yeah, she had a good
situation?
setup.
Let's start again, Candy. So we have Candy here with us this
should have the
afternoon,
song.
and
And it ain't gonna work. Yeah, I mean, not to make light of all, the topics that we've been discussing, but another thing that is people don't realize that is also killing us, and it's not the lack of exercise, and it's not lack of, the poor diet. It's actually sleep deprivation, and people don't take it seriously.
they should.
People don't take sleeping seriously, and
you
I don't
can't
mean,
catch it up.
people think, oh yes, I rest. I sit on the couch and watch Netflix. That's resting. That's not sleep. I don't even know what that is.
Not sleep.
That's just, some downtime, some me time.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like a solid 8
hours
hours,
of sleep.
7-8 hours of sleep.
Who has that?
And it's wreaking havoc on our health. Period.
That's why people are so
our
mad.
health. What's that?
That's why people are so mad.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you think you
run it on every day.
And that's what I was gonna say. You think these people just sleepy? They tired. Like, you know what? I bet you.
So that gives a whole
if
new
you
meaning.
go home and go sleep, you're not gonna feel the same way when you wake up.
What meaning does that have then? The translation would be is carry your tired ass. Does that have any? Is there any correlation to that scientifically?
Yes. No, I mean, lack of sleep. I mean, they say it makes you. I don't like the word dumber, but it makes you dumber.
No, that makes plenty of people tired around here. Hey, plenty people tired around here. They on 1 or 2 hours a day.
It makes you more forgetful. You're unable to learn new things. You're actually more vulnerable to dementia.
Oh,
Really?
I've read that before. I read that before.
Pardon?
You're more likely to have a heart attack.
That's a serious one. Sleep deprivation increases your risk of heart attack.
And yes, and then you're less able to fend off sicknesses,
Well, I know
so
that
because
one,
your
yeah.
immune system,
So, I have a question.
your body regenerates itself, like it rejuvenates. It needs sleep to repair certain things and to, So
The thing that concerns me about. Go ahead.
Jerome had a question.
No, I just for me, I have issues sleeping. Like, my brain does not cut off. Like, I will be up at 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then 6, 7 o'clock, I'm back up. And that's because I have all these things in my head, and I just...
Yeah, I don't have
So
that
let me
in my
ask you,
problem.
when you go to bed, do you lay awake in your bed, like trying to get back to sleep?
Sometimes I do that, yeah.
They actually say if you cannot get to sleep, remove yourself from the room. Because it's like, because they know. Leave the bed. Don't go outside. Just, it's like, they compared it to like, okay, you're not going to sit at a dining room table waiting until you get hungry.
Okay.
So it's like, go do an activity and come back. Because then when you lie awake in your bed, it does, it has some psychological links to, then now you equate it to, you can't sleep while you're in the bedroom of somewhere where you ought to be sleeping.
Can I ask you a question? Do you carry your phone in the bedroom with you?
My phone and my laptop.
See?
Yeah, you have problems.
And then you have a TV in your room?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Does it have like
That's
the light
too much
that's illuminated when you're
stimulus.
And I sleep with my television on.
No,
Oh,
you're not
that's
sleeping.
God.
Yeah, okay, we share your problem.
You're-
Now let's move on to another thing.
You need to make your bedroom. That's
That's one
number
of the reasons
one.
why I got off of Facebook.
Jerome, do me a favor. Make
Oh my gosh.
your bedroom a
Place for
no
sleep.
Electronic free zone.
No tech zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turn
You
the
can-
TV
believe it or
off.
not, you can do it.
Yeah, you can.
you think you can't do
always
it.
with my laptop. I always
Listen,
with my
My
TV.
grandmother used to do that.
Listen,
Yeah.
I
My
used
room
to-
if it's too quiet, it keeps me awake.
Well,
But hold on, you know, with the
no,
TV
no,
being
no,
on, you know all that stuff that's going on the TV that goes into your subconscious, you know.
That's why I keep it on CNN. That's why I wake up in the morning. I know everything that's happening
Yeah,
in the
that's
world.
what's got you stressed out.
Jokes.
I know everything. I'm up to date.
I was
No,
in
but
Florida
try it.
once.
Try it for at
Okay.
least a week.
I'll
I'll start
take
you
your
off,
advice.
baby steps.
Yeah, one of the things that concerns me about sleep deprivation, if you read about it, and I think I definitely suffer from it, is that it is hard to replete sleep. You cannot.
You can't catch up.
You can't catch up. So you think, okay, I didn't sleep tonight. You know what? I'm going to sleep all weekend. Doesn't work.
No, and you feel more tired when
Okay.
you do that, actually, right?
Now, I was in Florida at a trip, I won't say where, with a bunch of guys, and I was saying to this guy who lives in Florida, I said, boy, my problem is now, and I tried last night, it seemed to work. I like to drink fluids. I like fluids. I think maybe even it's because of my medication. And if you do that, you have to get up 2 or 3 times to go to the bathroom. Well, that wakes you up.
Yeah.
But one guy told me, he said, well, listen, I got a cure for that.
That's this?
No, I said, no, not for the going to the bathroom, for the not sleeping.
Oh.
I said, what's that? He goes, smoke a little herb.
Oh.
They knock that, so it's medicinal. Knock you out.
Oh, I thought you was going to.
So,
Because
maybe
people
you have
are
to check
hopped
that
up
out
on
as an
sleeping
experiment.
pills. They're trying to
Yeah,
do everything.
I don't want to go on. I don't want to go on any of that.
Chemical.
I don't want
No,
that.
you don't want to do
So
that.
the herb is what?
Apparently the herb wakes.
I just asking for a
We
friend.
could do an experiment. You know what we should do, Jerome?
The herb?
As a national service, what we should do is we'll have to register, because you can do things on radio and stuff, is have a chat with Toonie Ferguson, that what we're doing for the national accord, national well-being, is we are both sleepless, and we wish to see if the herb would help you to sleep better.
Okay.
So for a week, we would do an experiment with the herb, okay, and see how that pans out. If it pans out, then we'll immediately legalize the herb. It's as simple as that. We don't need to go through all that garbage about commission and all that. If we can sleep better, light up.
There
You
you
think about that, Candy?
puff, pass out.
Well, I know a lot of people doing that now, but they don't have it.
They pass out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if you're
It's
getting.
but it is a very serious
serious.
thing.
Yeah, and if you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, you are doing yourself.
I go to bed
huge
average
disservice.
between 12 and 1. I'm waking up 6:30, 7
That's
o'clock.
no bueno.
No bueno?
No bueno.
Is that Spanish for no bueno?
No good.
Okay.
That's no good. That is absolutely.
But that's
and
it,
it literally
Who gets
wreaks
8 hours?
havoc.
You get 8 hours? Who's
Say
getting
what?
it? You get 8 hours of sleep?
I
I
get it.
try to.
Yeah, well, how
I
you mean
try
you get
to.
You getting
Yeah.
8 hours of sleep?
Yeah.
I'll always like I used to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. I used to go to bed at 8 o'clock because I get knocked out really, really early. Now these days I go to bed at like 11.
Well, what accounts for your grumpiness then? I'm only kidding, darling.
And the thing is,
Ooh,
you watch
straight.
these,
You get straight.
you watch these
weather was
videos or
great.
sometimes these motivational speakers, and even these successful entrepreneurs and CEOs and all
They
this
ain't
stuff.
sleeping.
They always, you got to put in your time, you got to work, and you got to, this whole no sleep grind, and it glorifies people not sleeping in order to get, to be successful. And
Yeah,
that's
this whole, I tell you, this
It's-
whole
what's that?
Side to efficiency.
this
Right,
whole work
it's-
pressure
no.
thing has got to
Like,
stop.
forget that.
Listen, you're only going to get done what you can get done. For instance, this phone, this
these
thing here,
phones
right?
make it
Yeah.
The
a
fact
lot
that they
worse.
expect you
yeah.
to be on 24 hours, the hell with that.
Oh, for sure.
I now
You see-
turn this off at 9 o'clock.
You see in France that's been outlawed. You cannot contact an employer cannot
yes,
contact
when
their
you're out.
employees after a
The
certain
certain
hour.
time. Okay,
call,
because
can you
it was
call-
affecting the
Yeah.
citizenry.
Can you call your boy up, my boy Fergie, Obi Ferguson? I with him. Let's do a little.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's do a little legislation on that.
After 6 p.m. or whatever.
No, after 12 o'clock, you gotta go.
Yeah.
12 noon.
No, it's a
still on the
very.
job.
I
Yeah,
hope.
go
You hear
on.
the man say? Don't
Do
call
we,
it
do we
after
have?
one.
What would be interesting is we don't have. I don't know.
We
if we
started
have
with
any
some
sleep
studies.
professionals here.
Right.
Because a lot of places they have sleep professionals. You know
Yeah.
that woman you want? What her name is? Audrey.
Ariana
That's her
Huffington.
whole thing now, right?
Yeah, she created a whole company around,
And still no one's sleeping
promoting
now.
sleeping.
But she making money. She's the only one sleeping. Anyway, we'll be right back. We're going to take a break. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Field Shell. We're having a fun day. The reason being is it's Monday, and we're all bloody tired.
Monday.
That's what I've learned, that we're all tired, and so we're not making much sense. But anyway.
Making a lot of sense. I know.
No.
Yeah, well, I'm not making any sense because I don't even hear what I'm saying. Candy was talking about sleep. Can we? You got some more on that, Candy?
Was that you sound like you were going to say
No,
something else?
no, I don't have anything else to say about it.
No,
Other
it's
than
just
I'm tired.
just basically this is saying sleep makes us better at everything.
Mm-hmm.
The disruption of deep sleep is contributing to cognitive decline.
Yeah, I decline
break
it.
that down now. You have to tell
You
me.
ain't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Cognitive decline.
Your mind.
Yeah,
Your mind going. Your mind.
Yeah, you getting simple.
Right.
You getting simple.
Simple,
Once again,
simple
a lot
processes,
of people ain't sleeping.
That's about our problem.
simple processes that your brain,
So
would
I
do.
would make a recommendation. The next time, and maybe this will help with the crime situation, Jerome. You can promote it on your show. The next time that you encounter conflict, rather than say what's wrong with you, or just say, are you getting enough sleep? I'm concerned that you're not sleeping well, and see how Gully reacts to that.
Because plenty, you see plenty of people, just
Zombies?
hanging out on the blocks all night. You gotta sleep.
They would sleep during the day. They
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
They vampires.
Yeah. They sleep during the day.
They sleep in the
Listen,
day. They
you
nocturnal.
ever seen like a sleepy baby, like who's so miserable, like
I was
crying,
thinking about that when you were talking.
kicking, they fight in
fussy.
sleep, boy,
Yeah.
fussy.
And people,
Well,
parents
Hannah's
be
here
like,
every week. How do you understand? Kicking and screaming. No, it is.
They want. Hey, she looking like, why are you laughing?
Me?
No.
But they want to go to sleep.
No,
A
I want
lot
to go
of
to sleep.
people
Let
grumpy
me ask you
ass,
one at a time. Ken,
miserable
do you
people
feel
around here
tired right
are
now?
sleepy.
Ken is
do?
tired.
Ken works
Rogan,
like
do you feel
crazy.
tired?
No.
Okay, Jerome,
Yeah.
you're definitely tired. Candy?
I always tired.
I'm always tired. So Rogan is the only
I'm
rested
always
one.
tired.
Yeah. So it's
sounds about right.
it's a ubiquitous problem, and I don't even think most people, like you say, even know it.
No,
Go to sleep
because
early and turn off your phone.
we fall into these patterns. So
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing it for such a long time that we don't think that it's an
Well,
issue.
do you know why we don't go to
just think
sleep?
it's a part of our life.
If we went to sleep at a
We're gonna
godly
miss out.
hour, how would we watch Lawrence O'Donnell's for the second time? The same show. You know, people do that.
Yeah.
You saw the show, right?
From what time?
From let's say Lawrence O'Donnell comes on at 10 o'clock, and then you find yourself watching it again at 2. It's the same show. It isn't a new show.
Something.
But this is what I remember when TV, and this is again, Jerome talks about the phones. TV used to go off at 12 o'clock. They play the national anthem,
Yeah.
and then you go to your.
But then social media wasn't around during that
Social
time
media
either.
wasn't around.
Yeah,
Okay?
TV went off.
So
at
TV
night.
went off.
Stimulation. That's what I'm saying. There's much too much.
Now
TV
you got
doesn't even go
TV
off now.
isn't going off,
Even when they go off, like ZNS is still the community page is on.
and you got to read that.
Yeah, you can see who's there and the church fair and
You see Janelle dead,
And then you gotta
So
you gotta get on WhatsApp and
WhatsApp. I'm going to tell you. I think I admitted this already. When I was on Facebook, and you get into that back and forth, man, 1 o'clock at night you commenting.
You
I
did
don't
that, Jerome.
talk. No. I rarely comment on Facebook.
No, but I mean, I was doing it.
And I'll tell, I poke fun at people more than anything else. I
Yeah.
really don't take things.
But I was engaged in that commentary thing.
I don't use it for that. I just don't believe in that kind of
Okay,
commentary.
so you're riled up now. Not only you
Yeah,
commenting,
yeah.
you're riled up.
Yep.
But I know people who, there are people who I see, they comment on everything.
Everything.
Like by 9 o'clock in the morning, they have like 5 posts. I'm like, well,
They go from comment to comment.
yeah.
The same
I'm like,
people. And you know them. We know them.
Yeah.
We love them.
And they have an issue with everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go, sometimes I really don't care what you think.
Yeah.
I really won't say that, but I'm like, that wouldn't be polite.
But the thing is about those people is that they are ready and well researched immediately. Not.
I was going to say,
You
says
see what
no
I'm
one
saying?
ever.
You come up with tomorrow. They're building a subterranean, subterranean Volabas Moosh. Well, why we have to build that? There's no need to have a subterranean Molotov moosh.
They don't even know what it is.
Do you realize what subterranean Molotov mooshes can do to us environmentally? They just have they ready on the offensive all the time, man.
But my favorite ones are the minute they hear something. You only hear Air Daddy. Next thing to me about rest in peace. Then they come here.
The little emojis in there. Yeah.
Then they send the condolences to your family. I'm praying. No, my favorite ones are I'm praying for you. No, you ain't. You ain't been in church since the 67 election. No, you ain't. Stop lying.
I always say that. Like, stop that.
I'm praying for you. Yeah.
Like news point.
You know, what I found is that there's another need there with that posting. And we're all, I won't say we're all, but I was guilty of it. If I feel the need for any reason whatsoever, because I still browse and check it out, to say something, I just deal with the person directly.
I inbox them, yes.
I don't need to be
I believe in
illuminating people.
I believe in that.
Yeah. I'm out of the illumination.
That's for people that's to get the adulation to say, oh, well, see, Rogan is commenting, or she's sending her condolences. People want to people are looking for that. They want that validation, so they get on board. And, you know, it's
and if you want to irk their ire, say something negative.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're not, because it's just a thing. The whole thing is not natural. That's the bottom line, right? This thing is not a natural part of life. It is like, and you know what it is? It's an invasive species that we have.
It's not a real place.
It's like it's like the casuarina. Got to cut it down, which incidentally they're doing. Speaking of which, what do you? I'm going to shift off to something else because we haven't really discussed it on the show, and I have read the act pretty in depth, and there's this on and off about the thing, but the Immigration Act. Now, have you had a chance to read it, Jerome?
I haven't.
The first incarnation. Okay.
No.
The one thing that I'm concerned about, and I guess we're not, we don't have the skill in here, all of us.
No,
at least I don't, to comment on the one thing, and that is this gender inequality thing, which is a really perplexing situation for this country. We have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where the Constitution of the Bahamas says that anything of this nature, almost anything, changing the Constitution, has to go to the people. It's a flaw.
Yeah, it is.
Okay? Because the people don't know what they're talking about.
Precisely.
I'm being upfront with that.
It's
if you read historians and political historians and philosophers, they will tell you the best part of representation, or the most important part of representation, it's not to do the will of the people always, but to do what is right for the people. Okay? And that's why you want to vote people who have insight. They're not going to be perfect.
That's why you elect leaders.
Right.
I agree with you on that. Yes.
And it's because never, and Rogan and I know we've discussed this many times, when the referendum was going on and we knew it was going to fail.
Travesty.
Okay. What we did is that we did quite a bit of research. And one of the most disturbing things that I found was not in the history of mankind has the majority ever given rights to a minority. Not once. In fact, they had a case in Dominican Republic, we kind of came across it by accident, where they were putting forward a referendum on gay rights. And they have a level in the Dominican Republic, I forget what it's called, like the Chamber of Constitutional Judges or whatever, some high, and they struck down having the referendum on the basis that the majority would never give the minority rights. Yeah. That is what leaders need to do. Because, but it's an assumption based on reality.
Yeah.
You and I,
the people wouldn't have voted for it.
Yeah.
You and I would not be here. You and I would not be here talking if a body by a small margin of white men
That's right.
in the United States of America did not pass the 13th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
If they had gone to the people, they said, no, we ain't into
Wouldn't have
that.
happened.
No.
But look, the issues they had just implementing it. Even passing it.
By a very narrow vote, and then you had to make compromise. Well, you can't get married. They had to make concessions to get it passed. So going back to this immigration thing, I thought that the Immigration Act, or one of the elements of the Immigration Act, was to try to negate the negative impact of the Constitution. But here's how ironclad the Constitution is. And in fact, your sister, I forgot her name, I'm sorry.
My sister?
Yes,
Michaela?
Michaela. I called her name. She was a guest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was a guest on
Watch yourself, girl. Drink your water. So anyway, Michaela was on. She was on and talking. You need some rest, eh?
Yeah, I
So Michaela was on the air, and she was, she's an attorney, and the whole thing. And we also had Brandeis Donkinson.
Yes.
The whole thing was, why can't we just pass a law? Because you know why? The Constitution says nothing can supersede it.
Yeah.
So even if you have the intention, the good intentions, now there must be some kind of there's all kinds of nuances to this, because the only reason we even consider it, to be honest with you, in this kind of society we live in, is because we signed a treaty. And the treaty says that you need to get on board and change your Constitution to give equal rights to everyone.
Right. Were it not for that?
Okay? And both houses, both the Senate and the House, both times passed it unanimously. But then it had to go to the people then. We had a critical mass.
That's the scary part.
That's
where everything gets
Augustine
held up.
need to comment on that.
Who?
Augustine. That's the female version of Orknell. So the thing is, okay, so it's just doomed. And I don't know how we ever get out of this situation.
How we fix it, I do not know. And then you see what happens is it starts out very well intentioned, and then it's just hijacked.
Hijack. Well, they try to
the fear mongering and the gaslighting and all this other stuff begins, and it just all literally goes to hell.
Think about this. This is the sad part, and I saw perfectly intelligent. This is when I was on Facebook. I got into some very heated arguments with people on this, right?
That was the shocking part, when you're dealing with people who you thought were so rational.
There was this one woman, very intelligent woman who lives in Florida, Bahamian. That's the thing. She's actually in Florida, Bahamian woman, right? Married to a non-Bahamian. Now, I don't know if she got married in the States or she had children in the States, whatever. And so if you look at the fact that the majority of Bahamians are married to Bahamians, that's just the reality, okay? Then you have a small minority of people who are married, women, who are married to non-Bahamians, but who live here and have their children here. Doesn't apply to them. Their children are Bahamian.
Right.
Then you have an even smaller minority of Bahamian women who are married to foreign men and had the child in the foreign country.
Which is their right.
Okay? Okay. And those people, which are a small minority, this is the fear. Well, they could try to take over.
Yeah, every time
it's like 10 people.
Yeah, no, seriously.
It's 10 people.
Yeah, no, seriously.
It is fair mongering. Go ahead.
I remember being in the barber, and it's very personal to me because my eldest nephew, my sister's son, born in the United States. She was married.
HSA?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was born. His daddy's American. He's been back here since he was 2. When he became of age, we had to apply for a work permit for him to be in. He's been here from he was 2. Yeah. He now has permanent residency.
With a right to work?
With a right to work. So when this all came up, he was still in the work. We were still doing the sort of work, getting the work permit thing. And I remember sitting in the barber, and I was talking to my barber about it at the time. She and I were talking. And this dude outright said to me, well, you need to go where his daddy is.
Yeah.
I was like,
what?
See,
I said, get me out this barber chair.
Can you do me a favor? Because I was not allowed to say it. I got. Can you say would that make you? How do you feel about someone who says that?
I just thought he was ignorant.
Oh, okay. Well, because I couldn't say that. I said
no. He was ignorant. That's ignorance. And you know what I said to him? I said, do you have a sister? He said, yeah. I said, so tell me something. If your sister went abroad, got married, had children, and that fella she's married to was beating her morning, noon, and night, dragging her up and down, and she won't run and bring her children back to the bar.
Still bad.
What you can tell her?
Yeah.
Leave them with him?
Yeah.
No.
What do you say?
I say, Inga, let me come on this chair.
No, but listen.
Honestly,
What was his
I could
response?
not-
What was his response?
Stupid. He just looked at me. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Oh, stupid. Don't say so stupid.
Don't
say so stupid. You know, we don't say stupid.
And
Well,
I'm
that's what I
sorry if
said,
people
yeah.
take offense, but I'm like,
No, don't be sorry.
How
I'm tired
can
of the
you
sorry. Roget's been told me not to be sorry.
rationalize a situation? And you're right,
Yeah.
10 people.
10.
And they be like, oh, they got married, Bahamian women,
And then they
come
can
to
take
all
over,
women.
and then all the man,
Right.
and all the man's them,
Stupid is what
and
you're
and
saying.
all the men, all the Bahamian men, they can get crushed. They ain't have no job. Y'all trying to take over the Bahamian man, they ain't got no job.
I don't. God, from it's like a slippery slope.
So it's you find yourself. I always say the proverbial lump in the throat where you can't figure it out.
I just stopped talking. Yeah.
And so this is the thing. The thing is, think about this, okay? How much of a threat has this been? Now, here's the irony. I wish the people who find themselves in that situation kind of like sidestep it, because I know people who did this. In fact, we had someone on the show,
we did.
Amanda Coulson.
And someone else too. I'll tell you on the break.
Okay,
But yeah.
but she was on the show, right?
Yeah, Amanda
Well,
was
if she
here.
was on the show, who was the other person on the show?
Well, I know that Lynn Holowesko, when they were talking about the referendum, she
That's
had
right.
her children in the
Right.
States, and then she had to go and apply and all
Yeah.
that
Right.
stuff.
No, but I'm talking about people, for instance, like Amanda, who lived in Germany, and she was aware of the law.
So
Okay?
she had her kids.
So what she did was
And
she
then
and her
got
husband,
married.
because this is the foolhardiness now. Let me say the word better than that. This is stupidity now. Okay? If you're not married
It's not
and you have a
problem.
child in the States,
It-
they're Bahamian.
Yeah. But if you marry,
No.
yeah.
So the Christian, and there was a big Christian. Today was the big thing. The Christians
Yeah.
were against this. So now, what you have to say to the Christians? What did Jerome say? What
It's
Jerome
very
say?
Jesus based.
Yeah. What the Christian said was, don't get married. That's what they tell you. That's the thing. Don't get married. How you children
Your
when I get
children out of
married?
wedlock.
Out of wedlock. Go sit in.
Yeah.
So in theory, right? Everyone can have a child
It's dumb.
without getting married, have the child, I don't know the rules around it, and then get married, and then come back and say, well, Bahamian. I mean, it's just, it's not even consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
just
mixed
makes no
up.
sense.
Not even logical.
It's
Yeah.
not logical. And then, of course, woe and behold, you have three things that they take it over, they want to take over the Bahamian man, ain't no job. Then you have the Haitians. Once you bring that element into it,
Yeah, and
that
reason
means
and
that
rationale goes
all
out
the
the door.
Bahamian women, they can go marry Haitian man and Jamaican man, and then they can take all the job.
The same job, you're sitting on the block, ain't one. No.
You know
Yeah.
what? Anyway.
Okay. And by the way, that's the people who making the most noise
Yeah,
about it.
I
Yeah.
know.
The blocks.
And then these are the same people. I mean, Bahamians have no qualms at all in going to the United States and having their children.
I'm glad you brought
They go in there, have their kids, and I want my child to have U.S. citizenship and all this stuff, and then they come back here and then they speak poorly about somebody else who wants to have their child here, or even Bahamian citizen. It makes no sense.
This
It's
is the
hypocritical.
simple rule. This is
It's hypocritical.
a simple rule that I'm going to say it publicly on the air. That anyone with any sense,
They're the
sense
minority, buddy.
can get through. A man and a woman are equal. It doesn't matter who marry who, and who marry one, and who marry the other, or which and which. Once one is Bahamian, if a Bahamian male can pass on his citizenship to his children, then a Bahamian female should be able to pass on her citizenship to her children.
You
if
speak
she
too much
so
sense,
chooses.
and that don't make sense to them.
That's the bottom line. None of this other stuff about, they're trying to bring the people in so they can take my job. We'll be right back.
Job.
I want to
Job.
create a paradigm, Mr. Gomez Ni Sawyer, and Miss Smith, that we would create as a template for answering those who are challenged with regard to this question. A, if you find, and I'm being very frank, okay? If you find yourself not willing to work, i.e., you're sitting on the blocks, you're not doing anything productive, there are jobs out there. They're menial jobs, but they're jobs. Okay?
Teeth ain't a job.
Teeth ain't no job. And sitting on the blocks is no job. So if you want to work, and by the way, I know many Bahamians who are willing to do this and to work. Okay? So this isn't any exception. There are many Bahamians who are willing to do hard work to put food on the table for their families. Mm-hmm. Okay? I met a young man the other day. Even though I wasn't in agreement with how it was going about, he was selling coconuts on the road. Mm-hmm. At least he was willing to work. You got to go about it the right way. But he was willing to work. Right. Yeah. I don't want you to ever be in a position to comment about anyone taking your job. If you find yourself in a position where you are concerned about someone who is, say, a foreign tiler, okay, and you're not willing to go and get certified in tiling, you do not have any qualification to talk about tilers taking Bahamian tiler's job. A Bahamian tiler can talk about that.
Not you.
But not you.
Yeah.
If you decided that you didn't want to spend time in school and study, etc., and you think that Bahamian bankers are being overwhelmed by foreign bankers, let the Bahamian bankers have that discussion, because, by the way, the chances are they're not going to be as close-minded as you are. But since you can't add, you don't get, you can't, or take away. You can take away some bamboo. Because you can't add, you don't get to comment on that. You don't. Because this isn't a threat to you. Mm-hmm. And all you're doing is, well, first of all, you're being used. That's number one. Mm-hmm. See, they're not the initiators. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Those people aren't the initiators. Mm-hmm. They are being used in a game. Okay? But you put it succinctly, Jerome. Just think of your sisters. Now, I know many of you out there think that women are not equal.
Yeah.
Well, I've dismissed you.
That is true.
Yeah. You see, by you doing that, you are not equal. And they don't see that because just a man as a man. No, you're not a man.
I don't think they're not equal.
Well,
that's even scary.
Well,
I can have that discussion.
You didn't let me. You didn't let me.
We had a whole judge, a former judge, who said the very same thing that you just said.
Was she like that, or she was on technical?
She said. I'm not.
She didn't support the thing.
She didn't support it.
But she was because she didn't think she was equal to a man.
Me saying, as a black man, I'm not. I'm inferior.
How do you diminish yourself?
I can't understand that. I'm sorry. I must have grown up differently.
And you know what would be confusing? Because you know there's all flavors, right? What would be confusing is someone who is like fighting for equal pay, for not being abused. And I'm sure one or two of these type of persons exist, but no, I shouldn't have the same rights as a man. I don't even understand where you're coming from. So that is why we have to fight hard, all of us who care about this. And by the way, we look completely silly to the outside world.
Oh, yeah. We look silly here.
Silly and
listen.
My own people.
Let me tell you why we don't look silly here, Rogan Smith.
You look silly.
You can't look silly here if the majority don't feel you look silly. You see what I'm saying? You look silly. See, the majority think you look silly. You understand what I'm saying?
Again,
okay?
It's easy for
Critical
me.
Mass.
It's easy for me to just, the most disappointing thing about that referendum, and we discussed this many times on the show, was the fact that I spoke to so many people who I respected, Jerome. There were people who I thought of as thinkers. They're so smart.
You needed to have that discussion.
Right. Yeah. I didn't feel like I needed to have the conversation with them.
This is why, Rogan Smith.
It blew my mind to have that discussion.
This is why I lost my cool, because if you recall, and I don't know if you recall the circumstances, I was on a morning show.
I do remember.
With my good friend Dwight Strawn. And there was a woman there, I don't remember her name. Okay? And I went in there to talk about this thing. I was on that campaign, right? And it's early in the morning. I'm expecting to have a rational conversation. And this woman is telling me about how she disagrees with this thing, with this equal rights thing. And these same kind of benign off the wall reasoning, and I lost it because it's nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you use the example about equal rights, right? Like civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine sitting in a room, the same woman, sitting in a room with, say, another black person, and saying to that woman who is black, well, no, I don't believe in black rights.
Mm-hmm.
I think we fine. She would blow up.
Mm-hmm.
She would blow up and call you all kind of names and Uncle Tom and all that. These same people who would call you that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we use the biblical references now
Lord,
to, of course, undergird and support
Ooh.
and give foundation to these things. That's what I find. Then we wonder why people are so disenchanted and disenfranchised with the church and
Right.
religion, and
Right.
we wonder why. And you know, and you look.
That's a part of it.
I'm
right
telling
there.
you,
That's a huge
well,
part
because
of
you
it.
can't rationalize.
No.
You cannot rationalize the teachings of the church anymore.
No.
Well,
I step
can't.
away from those types of
You
churches.
cannot.
one of my last arguments on this subject was with a woman who was using the biblical reference about Adam and Eve. So then I went into it deep with her about how is this possible? How is this whole Adam and Eve? And it got into the, like, you know, he had 500 children and all this type of thing. And I said, well, who did you have it with? At some point along, sis had to be involved.
500 children.
You know, and Adam was and 108 and he had 600 children. You know, it just went on. So finally she just shut down because they're not interested. You know, I go back to this issue. You know, I always tell you about religion, Rogan, about my man Galileo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And this is, if anyone is listening
It's a
to
great
this,
example.
if anyone is listening to this, I want you just to think carefully about how people manipulate you and why you need to think. In the 1500s, a man who was involved with the invention of the telescope or other things, I don't know if he was involved with that, I might have just made that up. He was an astronomer.
He's an astronomer. I was about to say.
And he discovered that the Earth, that the galaxy, the universe, was not Terra-centric. It did not revolve around the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
That it revolved around the sun, the solar system, not the Earth system, the solar system. And this premise that the Earth was the center of the Earth was actually a part of scriptural teaching. Okay? At the time. So, even though he discovered that the Earth revolved around the sun, he was put under house arrest for life.
Excommunicated.
Because why? One simple reason. They knew it revolved around the sun.
But people would
they
start
might have
questioning other things.
They might not have known it before, but they saw his proofs,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't be in a position where they say,
But people say, well, what
"Oh
else?
boy,
What else y'all wrong
All
about?
that we have been teaching and indoctrinating me
that
is
wrong?
not true.
It's
Yes.
not right.
that wrong?
Yeah.
What else wrong?"
Mm-hmm.
You know when they forgave my brother? 1991.
Used to had a little while.
359 years. Pope John Paul or one of them. 359 years later, say, you know what?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Sorry about that.
He's right. Okay, sorry about that. So when you see those type of things, right, it makes people like me, and I'm sure you and Jerome and Ken are the same way. What else is wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and why do we just blindly buy into this stuff? And certainly you can't have a discussion with someone who's buying into, well, no, the Earth revolves around the sun, the Earth is the center.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get people to try to. You can believe what you want. You believe whatever your faith tells you, and that's fine.
That's fine.
But you cannot be closed-minded enough to not even have a conversation and hear other people out. Like other people, yeah, I go to church. I'm a Christian. I grew up believing that. That's my faith. But I have friends who are Muslims, who are Buddhists, who I talk to, and we have these conversations, and I'm okay with that.
But you know why, Jerome? Because it shows that you're not strong in your faith. There's a fickleness of your faith if you cannot accept. You don't have to accept it, but you cannot. You cannot even listen to somebody else's opinion or whatever what else they believe, because it doesn't have to permeate.
No,
in your mind.
If you listen to anything else.
But you can listen to somebody else.
It's a sin.
And we do we do this with everything,
Yeah.
Even with sexuality. Something we may not understand. It's like, oh, I don't hear that. I don't hear that.
Yeah.
But still listen
you
to
don't have
what. Just listen.
Yeah.
Well, this
You might learn something.
my extension.
Exactly.
Yeah,
My extension of that is this. I don't care what you do. You can do whatever you want. Okay, in fact, if you watch Billions, and this is the thing that I can tell you about, there was a scene in this. This guy is a sadomasochist. He's a masochist, and he was running for attorney general, and someone threatened to out him. So he got on the.
What sadomasochist is.
He liked to get hit.
Beaten
Yeah.
and
So they threatened to out him.
I know that.
You're right.
Good point.
So they threatened to out him. Okay, and he got on up, and he was going on the platform to quit the race. And he got on that platform. He said, "Let me tell you who I am." Okay, let me put my trust in you. You don't need to trust me. Let me put my trust in you that you can handle what I'm about to say. And he got voted in. Now obviously it's TV and all that, right? Yeah. But that's the kind of bravery to say, listen, man, I don't have no problems with me. You got if you wish to,
the audience probably just like that.
If you want to believe something, you're free. You're free to believe it. But you know what you can't do? One thing you can't do. Push it off on me. Mm-hmm. Whatever you want to do, you want to do in the privacy of home or without endangering or infringing upon my rights, you do. But what you don't do is to get up in public and tell me I have to do it too.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
And that goes both ways.
Both ways. And this is what kills me. This country has a foundation called the Lutheran Adventures. And this is something that it bubbles over in me, and I repeat it over and over. Repetition is important.
Yeah.
We revere the Lutheran adventure, and I wonder if we studied what the Lutheran adventure was all about. They came from Bermuda. Why? To escape persecution. Yet these very same people, and by the way, let me say it very candidly, in that referendum, the people who are at the forefront of the Christian movement were the direct descendants, faith-wise, from the Lutheran Adventures, the fundamentalists. Okay? And they then, in turn, persecute.
Yeah.
That's bothersome to me.
Let me tell you. For me, I look at people of color, and I can't understand how people who have endured what we endured can turn around and discriminate against and try to persecute other people. I mean, I look at the way we treat each other. I look at the way we treat Haitians in this country.
Thank you very much.
I'm abhorred by. I can't believe it.
It's a joke to even say they're treated like second-class citizens.
They don't exist.
Let me tell you something.
A joke.
It burns me to my core. The way that we treat our own people. And I'm saying, you know what I say to people? I said, the only difference, when we come through the middle passage, we stop somewhere else.
Precisely. Yeah. That could have been us.
That's the only difference between us and them. We got off somewhere else.
Or we weren't taken there.
Yeah, exactly.
And listen, Jerome, I use this example, and again, repetition. But look at this country, right? You go to, and this, every time I think about how confused and complicated the United States is, right? I'll just see something in an environment and say, look at this. This country, with all its flaws, this is the U.S. now, right, is trying to get to a place where people can be equal. Okay, they're trying. And so when you look at a place where no matter what the human emotion is in terms of prejudice, right, that you can go to Miami, okay, and there are Haitian restaurants and Ethiopian restaurants and Mexican restaurants and all that. And I don't know. I know, and I don't know. I'm telling you, I say it all the time. I'm sure there are a couple. I don't know where the Haitian restaurants are. We got 100,000 Haitians in this country, and we don't celebrate their culture in a way that we would celebrate, say, going to a Chinese restaurant or to a Greek restaurant or to an Italian restaurant. How is that possible that you can have a population of Greeks that may be 10,000 and you have Greek restaurants?
Fine, when we have the Greek festival.
That's so true.
That's true.
But then when the Haitians have their festival,
Haitian flag, we want to burn down the whole park.
We're going on here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we and that's why I say when you go back, Jerome, we start off the show with this, that the fundamentals, the foundation on which this country was either built or the foundation itself on which was built was flawed to the extent that we did not focus on the really important things. Education, and I use family planning because that's element of concern there, and law enforcement. Okay, law enforcement, but I mean, orderliness. And that's what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen. That is exactly when you sit around every single day, or you drive your car, or you go line up in a movie, what you're confronted with is three things. I can guarantee you. I want you to think of them every time. Lack of family planning, lack of education, and lack of law and order.
Right on that.
Okay? All three of those things are what there, because everything else will emanate from that.
Great spot to end.
So, Jerome, thank you, my friend, for coming on and sharing in our pontification.
Yeah.
Rogan Smith, it's wonderful to have you back now, Joel, straight and everything. And what did she say?
Not low.
She's straight. That's my people over there. I miss it. I miss it bad. I think you had some new glasses, eh?
These same glasses. See, the same glasses I had when
But you don't wear glasses all the time.
I have two glasses. Yeah, man. Oh, sometimes I wear my contacts.
Oh, you have two glasses?
Yeah, the green one, the tortoise shaped.
Not two pairs of glasses? You have two glasses.
Like 2 pods.
Yeah. 2 pods. I got 2 pods, mate. Okay, Augustine. Pleasure to chat. I'm glad that you're back, Augustine. Ken, as usual. Appreciate it, my brother.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks,
and we shall see you on Thursday.